So we're going to talk this morning about a title called Before It's Written, looking at 1 Kings chapter 19 and verses 1 through 8, which was read a little bit ago. If you have your paper Bible, that's my favorite way because I can write notes in it and underline things. Or if you'd like to use an app, you're welcome to follow along on your device. We're going to be looking at 1 Kings 19 verses 1 through 8. But I want to start off by saying some people just are hard to watch a movie with. Have you noticed that? Some people are hard to watch a movie with. Why? Because they want to know the end. They want to know, make sure, is it going to be okay? I don't want to name names. But my mother-in-law, when we're watching a movie, she will frequently say, just tell me the dog's going to be okay. She doesn't care about the hero. She doesn't care about the bad guy, the villain. She just wants to know the dog or whatever it is going to be okay. Never the cat. It's always the dog. Tell me the dog's going to be okay. And so I just started messing with her. No, everyone dies at the end. So that's just my default response for years, for decades now. Just tell me it's going to be okay. Is it going to be okay? Is it going to end happy? And everyone's going to die. It's miserable. You're going to love it. It's also fun to tell people that a movie ends one way when in fact it ends a different way. I know. This is why you can't watch movies with me. Like, no, it looks like it's going to hit it, but the boat's actually going to go around the iceberg and arrive in New York safely. Everybody's going to be all right. You can't watch movies with me. Those movies, thrillers, suspense, drama, why do they work? Well, they work because our mind is trying to resolve that tension because it gets us off balance. Like, I need to know the end. It's going to be okay. How is this going to work out? And many times we may assume how the ending is going to be. People talk about like that one channel. Again, I don't want to mention any names like Hallmark, for example, but that one channel, everybody's like, oh, all their movies are the same exact way. Yeah, they kind of are, right? So why watch them? You know what's going to happen. Sorry if you like those movies. But you can kind of assume what the ending is going to be. And sometimes life feels like that. Sometimes it seems like I'm not really sure how it's going to end, but my mind starts to try to resolve the tension, and I want to know, how is this going to end? And I'm working on this day and night. And I start writing, if you will, a conclusion of my own, and it's often based on fear. Often the conclusions that we write for our own stories are because of anxiety or because of our experience. Something someone has said. We often write those endings because of those things. And Elijah, excuse me, as we see in today's passage, Elijah is no different. Even Elijah has been writing his own ending of his story, if you will. He says, in effect, if you were listening, you know, he says, I'm done. I've had enough. This is as good as it's ever going to get. Just end my life, Lord, he prays. What a goofy thing to pray. Elijah had seen God provide. He had seen God deliver. He had seen God empower. He had seen God show up in miraculous and even unexpected ways. You would think Elijah is on the top of the world right now. But is he? No. No, he's in the pits. 1 Kings 19 has a very different feel than 1 Kings 18. Elijah is starting to believe the ending of his story is not what he thought it was going to be. He's trying to resolve the tension in his mind, and he's just, having been threatened now by the evil queen Jezebel, he runs off, leaves his servant behind, goes off by himself, total isolation, all by himself, and he crashes, completely alone and in utter despair, under what Scripture refers to as a broom tree or a broom bush. Webster defines despair as hopelessness, great unhappiness, or disappointment. It's a sense you can't go on, that you're incapable of resolving this trouble, that I can't even put one foot in front of another. I just feel like giving up. Now, to clarify, perhaps we can think of three different things this morning. There's disappointment. Okay, I'm disappointed that my soccer team didn't win, or I'm disappointed that my order didn't come before I left for a month vacation in the Poconos, which, if you need a driver, I can help you. That's disappointment. Depression is something completely different. That's a serious mood disorder. And that's not really because of a specific thing. But despair is kind of in the middle, if you will. Despair is because of a certain situation, event, or circumstance. And it just makes you feel like, I can't go on. You can pinpoint because of, in Elijah's case, because of this threat against life. He falls into this deep sense of despair. It's not that overarching, mood disorder. It's not that depression. It's not just disappointed like, oh, God didn't show up on top of Mount Carmel. That would be a big disappointment. No, this is despair. It's that feeling of great disappointment, that feeling of hopelessness. And why? Because of that threat. He can pinpoint that's where it came from. And that's despair. Despair can come on very suddenly, very unexpectedly. It can be very powerful. It can hit you hard out of nowhere. It can last a long time. But despair, it's not just a feeling, it's a false conclusion. Elijah had just seen incredible things. Elijah, think about what Elijah had seen. He had seen miraculous provision, both in his life and for the widow of Zarephath and her family. Elijah had seen God show up, fire from heaven, literally fire from heaven. God had shown up in that incredible way. Elijah had seen God and experienced this supernatural empowerment that he was able to run faster than a chariot. Elijah had seen some incredible things. Elijah had seen God, faithful to his word, at Elijah's prayer, stop the rain. And again, according to the word of the Lord, faithful to Elijah's prayer, start the rain again. Elijah had seen some amazing things just in the past couple of years. But when Jezebel threatens him, that's the event. That's the situation that turned everything around. It was like a bomb went off in his life. He didn't know what to do, and so he ran. And now, filled with despair, he just feels like giving up. He believes his life is completely and utterly worthless. Despite all he had seen, despite all he knew, despite all God had done, despite everything, Elijah starts to believe, this is as good as it gets. This is where my story's going to end. And that's kind of what despair does. Despair tells you the end before God has written it. Despair tells you the end before God has even written it. And maybe that's you this morning, like Elijah. Not literally under a broom tree, but figuratively under that broom tree. You're wrestling with despair. You want to have hope, but you just don't see how. Because somehow in your mind you've gotten, this is as good as it's ever going to get. And I just can't go on. Where does that come from? It comes from the enemy. You see, Satan is an enemy that follows no logic. He does not regard any rules of fair play or engagement. He tries to convince you that somehow he knows the end before God has written it. He's been doing that a long time, back in the garden. Did God really say that? That's not going to happen. He's been at it a long time. Spoiler alert, he doesn't know that. Satan uses despair to cripple Elijah, and he will use it to knock you down too, and me. Maybe today, as we look at Elijah's example, we can learn a few things about how God would have us when we fall into that place, that feeling like I'm beyond discouraged. I just feel like it's never going to get any better. It's a sense of hopelessness. The first thing is to keep on believing. So if you were taking notes, if I had fixed the computer, it would be up there saying keep on believing. Or if you want something to remember better, don't stop believing. Elijah had just seen fire from heaven, the restoration of a man's life, miraculous provision, and the unmistakable presence of the Lord God Almighty. And after all of that, under the murderous threats of an evil queen, what's he do? He runs. He runs. There's a story of a kid, maybe you've heard it, it's been out a long time. This kid is going to run away from home. He tells his mom, I'm going to run away from home. And mom says, well, all right. What are you going to do if you get hungry? He says, if I get hungry, I'll come back here and get something to eat. She says, well, I know you don't have a lot of money in your piggy bank. What if you run out of money? He says, if I run out of money, I'll come back here and ask Dad for some. She says, all right. Well, you didn't pack much. Your clothes are going to get dirty. What are you going to do then? He says, I'll bring my dirty laundry home and have you wash it. This kid's not running away. He's going to college is what's happening here. Elijah wasn't off to prophet school. He's actually for real running away. It's a little bit ironic to me that he runs away from the threat of Jezebel saying, I'm going to end your life, and he runs and says to God, please end my life. That's how despair gets you. It twists your logic. We're going to hit that again in a little bit. But he says, this is my life. It's not how it's supposed to be, but it's how it is. No hope, no idea that things are going to get better. A case study in despair. He knows exactly, and so do we, exactly where does this come from? These threats from Jezebel. He felt all alone, like everyone had abandoned him. But God had not forgotten him, and God hasn't forgotten you either. God doesn't forget us. There's a song, maybe you've heard it, we haven't played it here since I've been here, called Graves into Gardens, that says what you should know: the God of the mountain, still the God of the valley. He is the God of the in-between. That'd be a good sermon title, the God of the in-between. So if you want to write one, I'll be glad to preach it if it's any good. He is the God of the mountain. He is the God of the valley. He does not leave us. He does not forsake us. He is ever with us. The God who showed up on Mount Carmel is going to show up under the broom tree. And the God who shows up in the mountaintop experiences in your life is going to show up in the deepest valleys when you feel so very alone. Elijah left that place of Mount Carmel, that place of incredible victory, where you would think he'd be like, yeah. But no, he runs all by himself. And he feels like there's no one else. Meanwhile, Scripture says there's actually thousands of prophets. He just feels alone. So he's got this path that is like ours. We feel like, our path is unique, but our experience is not unique. There are others who understand exactly what you're going through. Maybe not down to the last detail, but they know what you're going through. You're not alone, but it feels that way. And we do that to ourselves. We say, like Elijah, I'm running away. His servant runs with him. He says, stay here. I'm going to go by myself. We push people away. And you know what we do next? No one cares, or they'd be here. Why do we do that? We push people away, and then we say, if people cared, they'd be here. You're not alone. You don't have to push people away. There are people that care about you. When you're wrestling with this despair, the desire to be alone often makes it worse. When you're isolated, it's starting to feel like no one cares, that no one can relate, that even God is not trustworthy, or else he would show up. And we do the same thing. We push him away. We keep him at arm's length, or try to. But when you're under the broom tree, in addition to keep on believing, that's the first thing. Second thing is keep on trusting. Keep on trusting. Trust that other people care about you. Trust that other people value you. Trust that other people want to see you get out of that place of despair. Trust God. Elijah ran away from a threat on his life. He sat down all alone under a broom tree. Broom tree would provide very limited shade, very limited protection from the elements. And he sits there all alone, and his despair, like ours, feeds on isolation. That's a good thing to write down. Despair feeds on isolation. And so when we push people away, and we get that sense that I'm all alone, I'm all by myself, God has forgotten me, people have abandoned me, I'm all alone in this, what happens is despair just feeds on that. Don't push people away. Don't push God away. That was Elijah's problem. He pushes God away and eventually gives up. Everything feels hopeless because, as I said before, and here's something else you should write down, despair absolutely distorts reality. It's like a fun house mirror. You ever go and see those? That's fun, right? We laugh about that. But the way despair distorts your perception of reality, there's nothing funny about it. Elijah had worked so hard. He had served so well. He had prayed so intently. He had sacrificed so greatly. He had obeyed so faithfully, but things aren't any better now than they were before. So it is for us. You may not be any better off because you have faithfully served the Lord. But God didn't make that promise, did he? Did God promise you things are going to be well? Things are going to go great because you've been faithful? He never made me that promise. It's been said that expecting the world to treat you fairly because you're a Christian is like going into the woods and expecting a bear not to attack you because you're a vegetarian. It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't make any sense. No. You may not be better off because you have faithfully served the Lord, just like Elijah. His life is not turning out the way he thought it would. Maybe not the way we thought it should. He feels alone, deserted by man, hated by the king, hunted by the queen. He probably felt like God had forsaken him, but God never abandons his children. God never abandons his children. Although you have run from him, although you have disobeyed him, although you have tried to push him away, still his presence endures. This is the promise of Psalm 139. It's one of the best psalms you'll ever read. Psalm 139, and specifically I'll be reading verses 7 through 10. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far sides of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. Where can I flee? Where can I run? The Spirit of the Lord. There is no such place. God never abandons his children. Don't isolate yourself from others. Don't try to push God away. When you feel like you can't get a break, when you're afraid, betrayed, delayed, when life just isn't what you expected it to be, keep on believing. Keep on trusting. Keep on praying. Keep on praying. I don't know why I pressed my clicker just now. There's nothing up there. But that'd be the third thing. Keep on praying. Prayer is honest conversation. Do you have someone in your life you can be honest with? Like, really honest with? Under the broom tree, Elijah prays that God would take away his life. He's just being honest. It is enough. I've taken all I can. I can't give any more. I can't fight this fight anymore. He feels like an utter failure, like none of it mattered. Because of this threat, that's where it stems from. All the miracles, all the prophecies, all the provision, all the presence, all the things that God has done for, through, and in Elijah doesn't matter to him. Despair has distorted his perception of reality. None of it seems to have made a difference. It hits hard, despair does. And it becomes a lens through which you see everything else. I had gotten a pair of driving glasses some years ago, those yellow lens ones, you know what I mean? And I was wearing them, and I decided instead of paying attention to the road, I'd look up in the rearview mirror for a little bit. And I did, and I was amazed to see that you can't tell it's yellow in the rearview mirror, because I'm looking through a yellow lens. The whole thing looks yellow. So to me, it looked like a clear lens. When you look through a lens of despair, everything looks bleak. Elijah is in a dark place, and he's looking at life through some very distorted lenses. He just wanted God to open the sea and open up the earth and swallow me up, get it over with, I'm done. He's speaking honestly to God out of his pain, out of his despair, out of his discouragement, out of his frustration. Isn't it nice to know that you're not the only one? You're not the only one that wrestles with these things. I love that the Bible doesn't filter the heroes whose lives it portrays. It doesn't clean up David's life. David, the word describes as a man after God's own heart, but David's got some pretty significant skeletons. They're not really in the closet because we know about them. God doesn't want a filtered version of you either. God does not want a filtered version of you. He wants you to have honest conversations with him. He knows anyway. You can have honest thoughts, honest conversation. You can have honest feelings with him. There's a song some years ago called Greater by Mercy Me. And part of that song says this: bring your doubts and bring your fears. Bring your hurt and bring your tears. There will be no condemnation here. Because I hear a voice and he calls me redeemed. When others say, I'll never be enough. And greater is the one living inside of me than he who is living in the world. Elijah laid down. He has this very honest conversation with God. I've had enough. I can't take any more. And he lays down and he rests. And the angel comes down and says, Elijah, get up. I baked you some cakes. He probably didn't kick him. If I was making a movie of this, he would kick him right in the ribs. Get up. That's not what happens. And Elijah gets up and he eats and he drinks and he lays back down again, proving that there is value in a small snack and a quick nap. Try it this afternoon. Look what the angel does not do. Oh, poor baby. Get up. Everybody's got it tough. Stop your whining. What's the matter with you? You see, wounded people don't need a pep talk. They need compassion. And the best thing you can do, the best thing you can say might be, I'm sorry you're going through this. The angel doesn't say, here's exactly what you need to do. You see, wounded people aren't looking for advice. They're looking for presence. To their credit, despite all of the knuckleheaded things they said, Job's friends, when he went through complete disaster in his life, they were there. They sat with him, simply being there. Wounded people are not looking for your psychoanalysis. Oh, I got on the internet and I typed into yourfriendscrazy.com, and it says, here's what you need to do. I don't know that that's a real website. I just made that up. They don't need your psychoanalysis to figure out what's wrong with them. Wounded people don't need fixed. They need a friend. An angel returns and says, the journey is too great for you. God never says this life will be a cakewalk. He never says that. In the Gospel according to John, chapter 16, and specifically verse 33, we read, Jesus speaking, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. That sounds pretty good. John 16:33. Oh, there's more. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. In this world you will have trouble. Not exactly the promise we're hoping for, right? But true. Have you ever found that not to be the case? You have had trouble in this world. The journey ahead was too great for Elijah. I love that the angel doesn't say, you're not enough for the journey ahead. He says, the journey ahead is too much for you on your own. But God says, you will never be alone. He's telling Elijah, keep on going. So we've got keep on believing. We've got keep on, what was the second one? Trusting. There it is. I lost my place. Keep on praying. And finally, keep on going. Keep on going, because your journey doesn't end here. God will be with you when the road is long. God will be with you when you feel that your strength is not enough for the journey ahead. God will be with you when you feel like giving up. And strengthened by the food that God provides and the rest that God authorized, Elijah does just that. He gets up and starts walking toward Mount Horeb. Now, if you're not a geography expert, as I am not, you might think, well, Mount Horeb, I never heard of that. You have. It's the same as Mount Sinai, which is where God gave Moses the 10 Commandments. So if you've heard of one, you've heard of the other. That's about 260 miles. He starts walking. It takes him 40 days. It's a long walk. How far could you walk in 40 days? No, you couldn't. You couldn't walk as far as you think you might be able to, I bet. It's about 260 miles. So you figure 40 days, what is that? About 6+ miles a day, 6.5 miles. Could you walk 6.5 miles in a day? How long would it take you to walk from this room, not so much if you're watching online, but if you were here in this room, how long would it take you to walk from here to Kitty Hawk? How long would it take you to walk from here to Savannah, Georgia? That would take a while, right? You would get tired. You wouldn't feel like putting in 10 miles every day. You might not feel like putting any miles in some days. I don't know much about this journey, but I imagine Elijah probably came across people. He probably had conversations. They probably said, let's have something to eat. I don't know if he accepted. Maybe he said, I'm good. Maybe he said, okay, I don't know. 260 miles he walked and walked and walked. He kept on going, you see. And if you were going to walk from here to, say, Savannah, wouldn't you want to start off with a full belly and a good night's rest? I know I would. God doesn't bring Elijah a wagon with 40 days and 40 nights worth of food and supplies. He just gave him what he needed right now. He gave him what he needed in this moment. You see, God always provides what you need for the next part of your journey. God always provides what you need right now. When you can't walk the next mile, God says, take the next step. That's kind of a recurring theme in Elijah's life. Have you picked that up? I never noticed that until just recently. God doesn't say, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, tough it out, put on your big boy drawers, let's go. But he does say, I will not leave you. He does say, I will never forsake you. I will never abandon you. I won't leave you on your own. You can't do it on your own, but you won't be on your own. I will be with you. You're not as alone as it may seem. And you're not as powerless as you may feel. Yeah, the journey ahead, it's too much for you on your own. But God will be with you. He will provide for you. He will provide for the next step. Oh, we want to know 6, 7, 10 steps ahead, don't we? We want to know the end of the journey. But God says it's not written yet. Despair will say, this is as good as it gets. The road stops here. Elijah had seen incredible things. He had seen miracles. He had seen God's provision. He had seen God show up in a way that, on Mount Carmel, that, oh man, that would have been amazing to see. He had been empowered by God. Elijah had seen God restore a young man's life. He had never seen that before. Never. It had never happened in recorded history before. But Elijah had seen it. And yet, when this one event happens, Queen Jezebel threatens his life. It's like a bomb went off in his life. You've had bombs in your life too, haven't you? Sure, we all have. Loss of a job, loss of a friend, September 11, death of a husband, wife, son, daughter, mom, dad. You've had bombs in your life, and maybe you didn't know what to do. So you did what Elijah did. You did what a lot of us do. You ran. You ran home and you cried in your pillow. You ran to the bar and you tried to drown the sorrows in the bottom of a bottle. You ran off to the office and you buried yourself so deep under a mountain of work you thought no one will ever find me here. You ran from one job to another, one place to another, one relationship to another. And there's a big difference from running away from one thing and stepping into something new. God doesn't tell Elijah, get out of here, quick, run away. He's already done that. Elijah has already done that. But God says, get up. There's a journey ahead. Get up, take the next step. Step into what I have for you. Don't be afraid. You run away. It's time to stop running. And time to start stepping. You ran until you found yourself under that broom tree. Again, not literally. But that place where you just felt hopeless, like nothing is going to ever be good again. And if that's you today, then I hope this message is for you. I know it is, in fact. Or if you know someone, maybe this message is for them. Maybe you can tell them what God has said to you. Again, you don't need to fix them. You just need to be a friend for them. Or maybe that was you. Or maybe it will be one day. And you'll remember this. You'll remember not because of my brilliance. I mean, there's that. But you'll remember because God told you about Elijah. God showed you something in 1 Kings 19. Maybe you won't remember the book or the chapter, but you'll remember this guy, this crazy prophet that had seen fire from heaven, life restored, miraculous strength. This guy, I don't remember his name. Was it Elijah, Elisha, Elvira? I don't even know. But God told this guy, you don't have to run anymore. It's time to step. Step forward. Step into what God has for you today. No matter where you are, no matter what your story is. Your path may be unique, but your experience isn't. The enemy can and probably will attack you with despair. Following Jesus does not mean difficulty will disappear. I mean, that'd be nice. Faithfulness does not guarantee ease. And hard seasons don't mean God has abandoned you. The enemy wants you to believe this is the end. It's never going to get any better. But God says the end is not yet written. Despair tells you the ending before God has written it. And when despair says quit, keep on believing. When despair says you're alone, keep on trusting. When despair says God isn't listening, keep on praying. When despair says your story ends here, keep on going. Because your story doesn't end under the broom tree. God has more in store for you than that. And the end is not yet written. Worship team,